It's a long one. All right. I'm just going to fade it out now, Jaden. The Four Drive podcast driven by Shelter. That was a Southern River Man with a little bit more of a let it ride than what we usually get, Ronnie. I don't know if I missed my jump or if that was a bit different.
I didn't mind that.
I didn't mind it either.
Yeah.
It's
So that's what I was trying to tell you, mate. It's a different song.
Sorry, I get you now. That was our second take.
At least Jaden knows what's going on, eh? We're going to get there. We're going to
That's
get
the
there.
intro.
And while there's a new voice, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Now that it's spoken, we may as well introduce it straight away, Ronnie.
Yes.
G'day.
Jeff from Seriously Serious. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Pleasure to be here.
All the way from Kalgoorlie.
I know. I've come downhill. I've come down to the seaside, you know. So it's nice to be here.
Good to have you. Thanks for getting on board. The Forward Drive podcast on Instagram. Flick us a message. YouTube, all our episodes over on BackChat. Patrons, thank you again for your support. If you want to help us out, patreon.com/the Forward Drive podcast. Get over there, check out all the extra content, a little bit of stuff, a bit more of the nitty gritty over there with Ronnie. He opens up a bit over there, doesn't he, Jaden? It's some interesting stuff. And the voice messages are well and truly alive.
Oh, like to
Over
hear that.
at,
Well, he kept that from us last time.
He did. He kept it from us, and I was very disappointed by that because I thought we were transparent here with how we go about it.
Come on, mate. You liked it.
You know, it was a good little surprise
It was
because
a
we
good
actually
surprise.
thought we thought we didn't have any again.
No.
I've been on the people to try and send them in. Good results. But
So you
I'll
followed...
stop rambling.
Yeah. Did you follow the pipeline all the way here?
Pretty much.
Straightforward run?
Yeah, pretty straightforward, pretty uneventful.
Yeah.
I was stuck on the tarmac, I hate to say.
Oh, yeah, not like you, mate.
No, it's not like me. That's
like
not
you.
where the fun's found, hey? No, and that's not where the stories are forged.
No.
But no, made it all the way down the pipeline, Ronnie. I didn't have to do anything other than get some fuel along the way.
No oil this time?
No oil,
No.
no, like the Perth show, Ronnie, no replacing of wheel bearings, you know, very sedate, very mundane, you know. Just listening to this great podcast, obviously, you know, to make those miles
mate,
go
you didn't
by.
have to say that.
Well, you can't hide from the truth, can you? So,
I like it.
anyway.
Now, mate, for the people and the listeners, the viewers that maybe aren't aware of who you are and what you do, can you give us a really brief rundown on...
Yeah.
I suppose or just give us a snapshot of, I suppose, everything that that you're about.
Sure. Well, there's a lot, which is a good thing. We're not going to run out of things to talk about here. I don't think so.
One of the most knowledgeable men I know, and I've only met you a few times, mate. But I'm looking forward to diving into your brain a little bit more.
It's a pleasure. Look, so obviously I represent what is Seriously Series. And I had the privilege of doing a bush mechanic segment with Ronnie at the Four Drive Adventure Show. And, you know...
Learned so much of that one.
Oh, I'm glad, Ronnie. I learned quite a lot too.
It's being nice now.
No. No one's an expert. But basically, I run Seriously Series with a good friend of mine, Damon Heather. And we started doing this nearly 10 years ago. And really how it came about is we had two problems. I couldn't get any work as a geologist. I'd just come out of university, kind of hit on hard times. Damon was doing his final year of cinematography studies and basically trying to become a cameraman.
Yep.
And he needed a project. So we came up with this harebrained idea that I'd move to Western Australia. Now, that's not the crazy part. The crazy part is hopping in a Land Rover that we bought for $400 and driving 3,000 miles or 5,000 kilometres across Australia unaided with no one else. And so we filmed that and we had an incredible time doing it. And that started us off, basically. And the whole name came about of Seriously Series was about, we were only going to make it seriously about Series Land Rovers. So Seriously Serious.
Right.
Good play on words.
And so you got to sell it. And anyway, so we started doing this, and Damon's background ended up going into in film, and then he went into the BBC. He worked with David Attenborough. So he's always had an interest in nature. My background is as a geologist, geographer. So our videos, our films that we do, our stuff that we do for television is a little bit different. It's probably a bit more traditional, you would say. It's not so much about the destination. It's about painting a picture of the journey for the viewer, the listener here today,
Yep.
and showing them that, you know, it's about getting out in the bush, slowing down, less is more, And by looking into the landscape, you'll be amazed at what you can actually find. And that's what we do.
Beautiful. And that, I suppose, there's so much I just want to unpack about that. Because
Go ahead.
If you can... So firstly, actually, for people that want to go and have a look about what Seriously Series is actually about, what platforms are you over in that sense?
Yeah, we're over quite a few, like Ronnie here. Obviously, this podcast is a great one to start off with. But we've obviously got YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, like any well-respecting business these days. And obviously, we have a film called Road to Ruin, which is currently out on Apple TV. As of the 17th of next month, which is June, that'll be available in 25 different countries on YouTube Movies, Google Play, Apple TV, iTunes, and Amazon.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Huge.
Yeah, so that in itself is probably a podcast in there because we had to basically build a film production company from scratch, and then basically we shot that film in 4K back in 2017, which was quite a big deal back then. And we shot
You
that.
shot in 4K back then?
4K.
Right.
Yeah. I'll just move the mic a little bit so I can talk to Ronnie here because I feel like I'm leaving you out. So we shot it in 4K, Ronnie, and we shot it on and you would appreciate this being a talented cameraman, we shot it on a Red Epic camera. Now, the Red Epic camera, for those of you who don't know, is a studio camera. And that studio camera actually shot films like The Hobbit, the last three of the proper Star Wars films, let's call it that, not the other offshoot stuff. So, it's a high-grade cinematic camera, and that is what Damon used for his work with the BBC.
Right.
And we took that on the Canning stock route out to the Gibson Desert and all the rest. So it's just the logistics of having a camera of that nature, which weighs probably about 15 kilos. Each battery's worth $5,000. One lens is worth $60,000. Just trying to keep the thing from not falling apart, let alone the Land Rover, was a bit of a task in itself.
$400 Land Rover.
Yeah, exactly. You could see what we were worried about, not the Land Rover. So, that was quite an achievement, and that was the first adventure documentary film to be shot in this country.
Oh, wow.
On that
That's
on that
insane.
camera.
That's cool.
And that has now been shown around the world in international film festivals. 21 international film festivals. It's been nominated it's won 12 awards for Best Documentary and 4 nominations for Best Documentary. So we're very proud of that.
That's huge, yeah.
So if you want a white knuckle ride, put your beer down, put your cup of tea down, because that's going to fall over, and watch Road to Ruin.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Road to Ruin.
You left out a big part of all the stuff that,
Yeah.
Because,
Come on, Ronnie. Bring it in, mate.
Because essentially, you are MacGyver in a Land Rover sense.
It's kind of evolved that way, Ronnie.
I
know. It was fun at the show, Ronnie.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Every single time we did another presentation, it was like another story to come out about.
Well, I tried to keep it fresh for you, Ronnie.
Mate, it was good. It was fresh.
Yeah, that's good. That's what we want.
Holding engines together with star pickets and wire and all kinds of stuff.
The main. I probably should have touched on it at the start. The main, I suppose, topic of this episode is going to be around some bush stories, bush mechanics that Geoff has brought with him.
Well, just general survival, basically. This is Bear Grylls meeting a spanner, basically, here, guys and girls. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Because I've heard some things. We've already been talking about how we could use a footy.
Yeah.
Out in the bush to help with, and there's
a flat tyre.
Chuck a few Sharons in there.
I love where it gets to. I've got 2 more questions in, just figuring out who you are a little bit, mate.
Yeah. Back to work.
Back on top. This is what I'm here for. It's about the only thing I'm good for. For the keen eye, you would notice now that Ronnie is sitting in Geoff's spot and Geoff is now in Ronnie's spot.
What happened?
And for those of you who are listening, you wouldn't have known anything.
You don't have to know.
No.
And I did say that I was going to finish with 2 parts on who is Geoff.
Exactly. Who is this guy?
Who is this guy?
This guy who's come into your studio.
All right. Now, I've got to think of him again. There it is. Gosh. Your love for, I want to say the bush.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is a love for the bush or if it started that way, or if it started with your.
You started with a Land Rover or the bush?
The bush, Ronnie. That's actually
Was that through geology and
No,
the love
no.
of that as well, or did
No.
this come pre what you wanted to end up studying in a career?
kind of everything in my life has just kind of fallen into place, and I'm sure many people listening and watching this would, that would resonate with them. I grew up in rural Tasmania. I grew up in the bush, so there wasn't much to do. So you went and played in the bush.
Yep.
And at that time, going to school and all the rest, I kind of struggled a bit at school. At the age of 9 or 10, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, so reading and writing wasn't easy. So I'd come home and I'd watch these fantastic documentaries like The Bush Tucker Man and Malcolm Douglas and all that. And that kind of evoked this interest in the bush. And then living in the bush, you'd just go off and play in the bush, and you'd learn all the different trees, all the different rock types, not botanically, not geologically or anything like that. And so that kind of fueled this interest of exploration and exploring. And cutting a long story short, years later, I found myself in a role doing that. And I'd gone through all this different stuff. I'd gone to school. I'd worked hard at school. I actually, got a good education thanks to my parents. And then I went off to university, and I was actually studying mechanical engineering because that's always fascinated me. How do things work? And then I found that wasn't for me because I was stuck in a cubicle trying to make computers work, and you know me, Ronnie, I'm an analog man through and through. So that wasn't going to happen, not in a long shot. But I was doing this geology thing, and I sat down and I listened to this lecture, and there was one slide of a fella on top of a sand dune next to a Land Cruiser, of all things, Ronnie. And the lecturer said, within 2 years, you'll be doing this and you'll get paid to do it. So I get paid to go forward driving, camping and travelling. Sign me up. And so that kind of led on to that. And with the love of the bush, the first car I ever bought wasn't a Land Rover. It was actually a Ford Maverick or a GQ Petrol. And it had 575,000 kilometres on the clock. It was the best car in the car yard as I was concerned. But to everyone else, it was the worst. And because it'd done so many kilometres, it started sort of falling apart. But it was great. It consumed vast sums of fuel. So me and my mates would hop in, we'd split the fuel bill, and we'd just go off and do all these tracks. So that's where kind of the interest in four-wheel driving and the bush kind of collided, I guess you could say. It's
a great little sort of connection to like your interests as a youngster and what you found to be, I suppose, a hobby, whatever it was, an interest. And then you've been able to align that with a profession. With a profession. I love that sort of. I've been able to do it in my line of work, but I love when it's sort of that. That really clear path, and you can combine both.
Definitely.
And with a vehicle that's falling apart, you're learning straight away about how to fix the car as well.
Exactly, because as we all know, and I found out, when you're got your first car, and you're probably around about 18, 17 years of age, you find out pretty quickly, you fill up the tank, and then you look at how much you're earning, and you're like, I can't pay a mechanic, but I can buy a Haynes or a Gregory's manual and have a half-decent crack at doing it myself. Yeah. And now we've got YouTube these days. Yeah. So it's even easier, than what it was back then.
Yeah, we've spoken about that a bit earlier.
Except when they leave that little detail of a circlip or something or whatever.
That's why you do things 3 times.
The last little one I wanted to touch on before we're going to keep going, but the last one that we've asked most of the guests, I reckon, through the four-wheel drive shows and stuff like that when they've come on, but the connection with Ronnie. How did that come about the first time around? And Ronnie, you might be able to touch on it too, but how did you two first connect?
I think online first.
Yeah, I think it was online, and then my recollection is, and you meet so many different people over the years. It's one of the great things. I think we probably bumped into one another probably like 7 years ago at the show, the four-wheel drive show. Yeah, ages ago. Yep. We were on a Toyo tyre stand, and we probably bumped into one another then. And then I got to know Chris Wood, lovely fella. And then we started talking about this new stage at the show, this Mad Adventure stage, and what could we do there. And I said, well, let's do something crazy. Let's do bush mechanics. And I think hopefully you're on board with it, Ronnie. You came along for the ride anyway.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's the one place you can talk about all the weird shit that happens out bush.
It's reality. It is reality. Yeah.
It's the hardcore. For my takeaways from the show, being involved in it somewhat for the first time last year in the shows around the country. That stage was like the nitty gritty of like the people that are coming to that one are the ones that are they're there to learn, or they're there to really dive into a bush mechanics or
and they've likely got a story themselves.
There's just they seem like the hardcore. They're into this. They're fans. They want to learn more. The big stage is fun and there's a bit going on, and a lot of people come to it to have a look. But that stage was like you can sit down and have a genuine, detailed conversation.
It's definitely like a niche
you guys
group
up the top. Yeah, it's a niche group, but I loved it because it was the nitty gritty of everything. You can learn so much from those. That was it. Mad Adventure. Mad Adventure.
Mad Adventure.
Well, you've got kind of two different takes there. You've got a presentation, and then you've got essentially a tutorial, which is what they were. Like a workshop basically.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing. It'll be interesting to see how that change or that stage evolves over time.
It'd be cool if it becomes something where it's like hands-on,
I'd love that.
Let's put this together,
We nearly did that, didn't we? Oh, well, I suggested it. We get a snatch strap and start your Land Cruiser.
That's
show,
right.
But that didn't quite happen. We were a bit busy, just a bit busy.
But that's actually snatch strap to start the Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just quickly give everyone an insight into how you operate and the ideas that you have. How would a snatch strap be able to start a Land Cruiser?
This is without another car as well.
That's
this is without another car.
You've just got a snatch strap and a Land Cruiser.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to do a plug here. A box of Wheat Bix. So
it just gets better.
It gets better.
Might be 2 boxes involved here.
So consume the box of Wheat Bix, guys and girls, because that gives you muscles and everything else that they advertise on TV.
And it'll block you up when you're straining.
Exactly. You won't use any toilet paper, so you'll be saving money. And basically what you do, you have to figure out whether your car has a centre differential or an LSD. Now, Ronnie's car has an LSD, so you need to jack up both of the wheels, turn the ignition on, make sure that there's probably... Oh, no, yours is diesel, so you're okay. So jack it up, get the wheels off the ground, wrap the snatch strap round the actual tyre, give yourself plenty of slack, put it in top gear, turn the ignition on, and run for your life, and you'll turn that over, and it'll start up.
We're low range here, yeah?
No, high range.
High range, okay.
High range, yeah. Low range is even harder to turn.
So
As you know,
just means you got to run the other way again.
Yeah. You get your steps up pretty quick.
How do you come to figure that out?
Well, it's pretty simple. Like that's all an axle does, is it just turns over, and the axle is connected to the prop shaft, which is then connected to the gearbox, which is then connected to the motor. So it's just like a cheats version of a crank handle or a starting handle.
Yeah.
So you're just winding the car up, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does sound quite common sense when you explain it like that.
Yeah, it is.
It's
not something you have to do every day in Perth, basically. Let's put it that way.
Is that how you start the Land Rover most days?
Well, I have had to start it at the Coles or Woolies shopping centre with a crank handle, and believe me, you get some glares and some looks and some stares and some laughs. Yeah.
That's a long way from a push button.
It is.
Now
keeps you fit.
Yeah, it would too.
Yeah.
Mate, little segment we have here. I think you're aware of it, on the radar.
Yes.
It's a relatively new segment still. I don't know how long it's been going, but we're getting some good.
About 20 episodes.
You reckon 20? Yeah.
At a guess.
Yeah, at a guess. Yeah, educated guess.
Yeah, maybe 19.
But we've while we've got you,
yes,
we're going to do. So on the radar is it's probably a good reminder just to touch base on it for people that haven't heard about it. It was based on a new product, new vehicle is how it sort of started coming onto the market, or something that we're hearing about, and just putting it out there as a genuine general discussion. With On the Radar today, while we've got you, the Land Rover specialist, we're going to just give us a quick, give us a quick brief on your vehicle, Damon's vehicle, and I think you've got a few.
So yeah, we've got probably about 12 to 14 between us.
We don't have
How
that
many
much
are running?
time.
No. Well, a couple. Okay. No need to get picky. Okay.
But, give us actually, yeah. Give us a. Actually,
I'll give you a speed run.
Give us a speed run.
give you
us
a
a speed
speed
run.
run.
Go for a
Okay.
speed run.
Can you start with the registered ones?
Oh gosh, well that's boring, Ronnie. I'll start from the oldest to the newest. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Is that
go.
right?
That's good.
Okay. Sorry, Ronnie, didn't mean to sound mean. Okay, right. Okay, here we go. Speed run. So, me. I have a 1952 Land Rover Series 1 80-inch, first of the 2 litres. I then have a 1957 Land Rover Series 1 107-inch. Station wagon, very rare. I then have a 1961 Land Rover Series 2 88-inch, registered. I then have a 1975 Land Rover Series 3 88-inch, highly modified short wheelbase, registered. And then I have a 1983 Land Rover Series 3 Stage 1 with a 4BD1 3.9 litre Isuzu engine in it, extremely rare, not registered. And then I have a 1989 Land Rover Parenti 110, registered, with a 1966 number 5 trailer, registered too. Damon then has a 1975 Land Rover Series 3 109-inch, registered. He then has a Land Rover Defender, which I think is a 1993, that's registered too. He then has a Disco 1, which is 1997, and that is registered too. He then has an ex-Army 2A from 1965. He then has a Series 3, probably from 1973. They're all utilities. And he's probably got a few other ones tucked away that I haven't heard about yet. So, yeah.
So
And then I've got my Ford Maverick still, just for diversity's
Do ya?
sake. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
13, 14 now.
That first one.
No, that got stolen. I got another one. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
it ran enough to...
Yeah.
Someone else thought it was the best car in the yard too.
That
obviously.
must have, but far out, she was pretty dented by the end.
Was it Damon?
No, he doesn't like Ford.
Right. And where'd the Land Rover love come from?
Oh, well, basically, when I was 18, as I touched on before, you realise you got no money, or you haven't got much,
Yeah.
unless you work in mining. And then you go, well, I really want a new car. So you go, well, I can't afford one. So I thought, well, I'll just build one. How hard can it be? So I looked around and I always wanted, shock horror, a Jeep, a World War II Willys Jeep. But they were too expensive. So a friend of the family, he had this 1961 Land Rover Series 2, that was, he wanted $400 for it. He'd had it for 27 years. He'd driven it all over Tasmania. I went down and met him. We went for a bit of a drive around his property. It did everything that it said on the box. It had rust here, there and everywhere. And so I just started basically pulling it apart and learning about this Land Rover. And I didn't have much to go on because this was, nearly 18 years ago. So all I had was half a workshop manual and then this old book of reviews about the Land Rover Series 2 back in the day, and they're all black and white photos. So it's a bit hard when you're trying to spray paint a car and you're like, well, what colour's that? You know? So, yeah, I just started doing that. And as I learnt more and more about them, I just, fell in love with them.
Yeah.
And it's just a fascinating vehicle. You either love them or hate them, a bit like James Bond. But they've just done so much in this country and so much in the British Empire and the Commonwealth. And they were built at a time where, Britain was basically on its knees. And they were designed to be the farmer's best friend. They were designed to basically feed a war-stricken Europe. And when I came to actually spray painting the car, it was evident because I went to the local, paint shop, and they had this old book from the 1950s or 60s that had all the paint codes in.
Oh, no way.
And I'm like, what colour can I paint it? Green. Because they only sold it in 5 different shades of green because it was all paint left over from the Second World War.
Oh, there
you know? So all that kind of stuff was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Without getting into the numbers on it,
Yeah, don't.
have you spent quite a bit on this fleet of Land Rovers? Like, have you found these quite, as your first one, quite cheap and you've been able to work on them yourself, or is it? Have you had to sort of? Has the love cost a bit without any numbers?
No, look, it probably has, and I wouldn't want to think how much I've spent over
So
time.
a bit like a lot of forward drive.
Look, there's no.
The unspoken numbers.
Yeah,
It's all common ground here.
yeah, it is. Yeah,
We're in a safe environment here. So look, the first initial one I bought, which was the Series 2 short wheelbase, I bought that when I was 18. I still have it. I still drive it every day. And I've probably spent, a bit on it, but I wouldn't say an exorbitant amount.
Yep.
And it's done everything that I wanted it to do.
So which is your favourite out of the lot?
Good question, Ronnie. I think it'd probably be the first one I bought.
Yeah.
Because
You mean the Petrol or the first Land Rover?
Yeah. Good question. I thought we were just talking Land Rovers, Ronnie. Look, it'd probably be my Series 2.
Okay.
Because the Petrol or the Ford Maverick I had just so many wonderful memories, with my mates and that, driving through Tasmania in it. But when it got stolen, that kind of just went away with it, if you know what I mean.
Fair enough. Tarnished.
Yeah, tarnished. But the Series 2, that's just been absolutely incredible. And then I bought the Ex-Army Parenti, and I bought that because I wanted to travel WA, and I've done so much in WA with that. So probably those two would be the most special.
How do you go with that Parenti? Because the back of it's not really sealed too well. And some of those tracks that you're driving on, I know how dusty they get.
Yeah.
So do you wear goggles?
It's funny. That's a really good question. So by rolling the sides up, watch the bush tucker, man, plug there. Roll the sides up, and basically it creates positive pressure in the back by leaving the back down.
Yep.
And actually works surprisingly well. It will not keep all the dust out. Don't run away with that idea.
But mitigates it by a fair bit, eh?
It does, yeah.
I wish we had you on before I took my canopy off.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You need a snorkel head for those ones.
Yeah. Because if you actually have a cab, and I found this, the dust just gets stuck in there.
Yeah.
And I wear glasses, so I'll be handing my glasses to Damon to clean and give them back to me so I can see where we're going. And that's happened in the past.
That's awesome. Now, this is probably the most interesting part about this on the radar section.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And this might end up just being our whole episode, this one, to be honest. Like the Land Rover sort of...
Oh, Jaden's
chat.
looking concerned now.
he's like, yeah, shit, this is going a while. But I want to ask you about the new Land Rover shape.
Oh, yes.
And the new... Well, the later models.
Yep. Pure controversy.
Where do you sit with all of that?
Where do you sit with a new Land Rover Defender?
Yeah.
That's what you're asking, right?
I'm asking that. I don't even know how many new
Ronnie's
models
cutting
there are,
straight
but-
to the chase here. Yep.
Ronnie, sum it up for me, mate. I don't know Land Rover chat, but
What do you think?
it can divide a room. It can basically probably destroy relationships. That's how bad it is. I'm not joking. Look, I think the new Defender is a really good vehicle. We have to be mindful that it's 2024. It's no longer 1948 when they first came out. So the world has changed. The world has moved on. It's a very high-tech vehicle. It's a very capable vehicle off-road. It doesn't have probably the rugged simplicity that the previous models have. And you got to look, and you know this, Ronnie, when they finished the Defender, they went from that, which was basically get a hammer, fix it, and then they've gone to the space age within a matter of a few years.
Yeah, right.
So I think people probably haven't caught up quite quickly enough to understand, sort of the significance of it. So I think it's a good vehicle. Would I take it out to the back and beyond? Yes, but I would want to have a Land Rover Guru on the end of the phone at any given time.
Right.
Yep.
See, the way I look at it, it's like...
Because you've driven one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've basically got two discoveries.
Well, that's the thing too. They've had to streamline. And so basically the monocoque design or the chassis are basically interchangeable between each model, because Land Rover is in fact no longer Land Rover, it's JLR now. So Jaguar Land Rover. And so it's a small car company, basically. So they don't have the luxury of Toyota and GM and all the rest. So they've got to be a bit more streamlined in how they actually do things.
Yeah, it's just interesting though, because if you look, so I used to compare, if you compare the old Land Rover and Land Cruiser, those were the two bush hacks, right?
Exactly.
And now Land Rover, they don't have that anymore. They don't have a bush hack anymore.
No.
So that bush hack I feel has been replaced by the Grenadier. But it's kind of like in between.
That's right.
It's still kind of techie.
Right. And what you got to look at too is when the Land Rover Defender, what they're calling the classic Land Rover Defender, came to the end of its production life, it was actually costing them probably more money to make that than what they were making on the vehicle itself, because it was still all hand built. It was still built on the same production line, basically, back from 1948, give or take a few things. So, it's, as I've said, it's just such a big jump. It's such a big advance from it, and they should have probably got something in the middle there. But what's really made Land Rover all their money, or JLR all their money in the years leading up to the demise of the classic Defender, is really the luxury 4x4. It's the Range Rover Vokes and the Discos and all the rest. And you just look around on the street, you'll see much more of them than you will a Defender.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
I think what the new Defender lacks, that all old cars have this because it just comes with being old, but the character aspect of a Land Rover Defender, like the classic Defender,
oozes it.
It
just
has
like
a
the
lot
oil.
Yeah.
They took that out of it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
But they just don't have that. Like, I saw one actually kitted up the other day. Drove around and Lauren, my partner, likes the new Defender. And I said, I don't know about it, Lauren. And I said, why do you like it? She's like, I just like it. And then I said, why don't you like it? And I said, and she told me I'm not allowed to say because I don't like it. I was like, it still kitted up. It just didn't look. I don't know. It just didn't look. It looks like just another SUV sort of thing that is just a bit bigger than your normal car, so it's more spacious for the family. But
it's going to take time for it to sink in, I think.
Yeah,
it's been around
that's
for a
even
while.
for me though.
That's true. That's true.
Not
Right?
a Land Rover person per se.
Yeah,
it's just lacks character.
Yeah,
as opposed to the old one.
After we took it for a test drive, we took it through a puddle. It wasn't very deep, and the bloody part of the body kit came off. Right?
Oh, right.
So, and we were like, oh shit, we better put this back on, because I wasn't the one who borrowed the car.
Where's the cable ties?
Yeah. So we managed to pop it back into place, and then we took it to a car wash, and because they covered the entire bottom of that car up with carpet, we were there for ages washing this thing because of one little muddy puddle, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And what reminded me of this was there was a soccer mum came around and said, "Oh, what kind of car is that? I love it."
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Chris Woods was there at the time.
Oh, was
he
he?
goes,
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, this is the Land Rover Defender." Oh, wow.
But so you're saying it's still not a bad car though, is what you're saying?
No, look,
I've never driven one myself, so I can't really say too much.
Check out Ronnie's review video, because
Yeah.
that was a really good video. They're all good videos. But, it's a very high-tech vehicle.
Yeah, okay.
They've put a lot of technology in it. They've gone so far to develop it, so basically it can be converted over to an EV.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they've been thinking into the future.
Yep.
So it's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you want to go? Because I'm going to go off a bit here.
Okay, I just don't get the software they're putting in the cars these days, and it's not just Land Rover. It's like, why do I need to select which terrain I'm on? Just give me 4-wheel drive. I've got my diff lockers. Let's just go.
It's trying to make the average Joe turn into Schumacher by one press of the button, basically.
Okay.
As we both know.
Yeah, but it turned me into someone who couldn't even climb a dune, and I was getting so frustrated.
Yeah.
I hopped in my Hilux. I got it up in 2 goes. I was like, it's not me, it's the car.
Because you didn't have a manual, did you?
No, I didn't have a manual.
So that's pretty tough. Like, if you're trying to get out of somewhere and you haven't got the manual there.
Yeah, but in saying that, I didn't have a manual for a Grenadier either. I had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
I've got like a card that shows me where every single fuse is.
Yep.
But I didn't have the manual, so I had to figure out how many times the press each button and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys and girls, take a manual with you next time you go out bush, and we're not talking about transmissions here.
Let's not talk about them. Yeah, where I was going to go with my conversation
Sore
is
point,
that
John.
on the radars. Jesus, a bit too much laughing back there.
Oh, well, that was funny.
It on the radars finished, by the way.
Oh,
we
is
just
We're
seamlessly.
in the radar.
We went
sphere.
under the radar.
We seamlessly just
Sonar.
transitioned into our new main topic because this is going well.
Okay.
What I want to ask you, Geoff, is when you're on the way down yesterday,
Yes.
and I'm going to assume up the front of your vehicle that you brought down,
Yep.
there's not a lot of gadgets going on up the front.
Hey. Yeah.
What are you doing for 7 hours in the car while you're driving down?
Well, I can't whistle to myself because it's too noisy. So I discovered this actually at the Adelaide show. I was there with Mike, who helps us out with camera work. And he loves motorbikes. And he said, you should get these noise-cancelling earpod bob things.
Right.
And I'm like, whatever. Okay, I'll give them a go. I've got all this, miles to make, and it's just on tarmac. It's not that exciting. So I pop them in. Revelation. So I can listen to music and I can listen to podcasts and audiobooks and all the rest. So
I said that's how you're doing it through.
yeah.
I was going to say.
Because I used to get a Bluetooth speaker and sit it in front of the steering wheel because there's a flap there in the Parenti to cover the lights, so it doesn't illuminate your face, so you don't get shot by a sniper.
Right.
Just simple things, day to day.
We've got to have that, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure the Grenadier has that.
Probably does.
And so I just put the Bluetooth speaker in there, but I'd have to have it cranked up so loud that I'd kind of only just get little bits.
Yeah, right.
And there was particular music I couldn't listen to. So, obviously, if you got rock and roll or something like that, Metallica, you're okay because it's bang, bang, bang. But if it's something a bit more sedate, then you won't hear anything. You won't know what you're listening to.
I don't know why that came, because you did say at the start, you obviously listened to the podcast on the way down. Because I didn't click though, but I was like, I wonder how he's actually doing it.
Yeah.
I don't think
Because I do quite a lot of driving.
Yeah.
Both for filming and for work, so
Yeah.
it's always good to have something just to break it up.
Are you using your own vehicles for work?
Yeah, so the vehicle out the front is the Land Rover Parenti, and I use that for my other work.
Right.
I use the Series 2 and all the other
Okay.
stuff. Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, I want to touch on as well the Ineos, and we just had a little chat before we jumped on air about it. Yes or no in your books, the Grenadier?
Look, I guess
Doesn't have to be a hard yes or no. But
no. Look,
That's a bit
I think it's a good vehicle. I
Yeah.
think it's a good vehicle, and I know I said the Defender's a good vehicle too, but it is a good vehicle. I did consider actually buying one.
Oh, wow.
For my wife Claire.
Yep.
We were starting a family, so we thought, we'll go have a look at the new Defender. No, maybe the Ineos might be a good one. And look, it's a good vehicle. I guess it's well thought out, as you know, Ronnie. You've actually driven one. But I guess the only thing that I would have any reservations about is probably the tech support with the vehicle itself. A lot of it is BMW components. A lot of it is, I believe, Mercedes components too. If you've got a good parts catalogue, which basically denotes all the parts in a vehicle, then you can get yourself out of trouble. But if you don't have that knowledge, then that's probably the one thing that just might be a little bit iffy.
Yep.
Have to do a bit more research on.
Do you think it's more of a case of, because the feeling that I get, I've got a bit more trust in the vehicle now.
Oh, yeah.
A lot more trust than what I first had, because I was worried about the motor and BMW, all that stuff. But do you think it's more of like you're going from a Land Rover you know how to fix to a car you don't really know?
There's probably a little bit
of that.
Yeah, there's probably a little bit of that, Ronnie. Fair to say. I have fixed Land Cruisers too.
Yeah,
they do. They do break.
Yeah, contrary to belief, they do break.
They
a
do
lot.
break. And I have even fixed a Jeep once, but we won't get into that. Can
you fix it?
burn them? No, joking. No, you can fix them. No, they're a good vehicle.
Very capable.
They're very capable. Yeah, the TJ was a mate of mine had one. We went everywhere in that. But back to your question, Duggo and Ronnie, I think there's probably a little bit of that. I think the other thing is to just being able to call up somewhere and go, hey, have you got a wheel bearing for an Ineos Grenadier? You know, having that part support there. There's a Land Rover, you know, parts store in every town basically, or, you know, you can get one, and I've done it, you can get it chucked into a toll satchel and get it within 24 hours. So it's just that support. Toyota, pretty much most towns in regional WA, you know, you can get most stuff, as you would testify, Ronnie.
Because the vehicle's been around for such a long time. I think the safest cars, in a sense of if you need parts, is probably your older Petrols, your older Land Cruisers, your older Pajeros even.
Yeah.
And
Land Rovers, yeah.
Yeah, and Land Rovers, of course, yeah. Look, there's definitely other vehicles out there that are more of a concern when it comes to parts, and that's more like your big Chevs and your big F250s.
100%.
Now, that is extremely hard to get hold of.
Yeah. And as we were talking about before the podcast, you know, there's a lot of commonalities or a lot of parts within the Ineos Grenadier that have been used in other vehicles. So as long as you're a bit, I guess, summing up, if you're got a little bit of mechanical nous, you don't mind doing a bit of research, the Ineos is completely and utterly okay. But it's just doing that initial research. You can't just have blind faith in your vehicle. And I guess that goes for any vehicle if you're travelling in a remote area. Yeah. You can't just hop in and expect to turn the key every time and it works, you know.
I guess it's a bit like you jump in your Land Rover, I'll jump in my Land Cruiser, and you're preparing for a big trip. There are certain things that I'll bring and there's certain things that you'll bring because, you know, that's the most likely thing to go kaputski on this car, right?
That's right. And
but
as sorry, Ronnie, as you would know, the bits that you bring that you think will go kaputski don't, and the one thing you didn't bring does.
True.
Is that fair?
It's fairly fair, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, it's very accurate. But you have that peace of mind.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
And that can go a long way when you're traveling.
That gives you confidence.
Yeah. Because being anxious the whole way, it's not good.
No. It's not fun.
No.
And that's the whole point of why we're here talking about the subject.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. I suppose I don't know. I want to keep going on the Land Rover stuff, but I also want to get a little bit more of a background on.
Yeah,
a bit more to Geoff again.
Yeah.
Now that we're putting the other topic to.
I don't want to be here, guys and girls, just as a gate crasher. This third wheel.
You're not a gate crasher.
No. This is we need you.
Thank you.
Ronnie was getting sick of me. Is there any other vehicle now that you would go out and purchase to try? Is there something else that tickles your fancy out there? Is there something that you really sort of
like if money was no object and it was a new vehicle?
Yes.
What would I buy?
Yeah,
basically?
if you were really curious about something else, what would it be?
That's a really, really good question. I guess one of the things that I did do, and it wasn't necessarily it was a vehicle that had a little bit of intrigue. It's probably not the most leery vehicle you would buy, and that was Isuzu MUX.
Oh yeah,
and I actually bought that for my wife because of the Land Rover Parenti, because the Isuzu, you know, they build trucks, you know, and they're a very simple agricultural vehicle. There's no fruit that talks to you. There's no teeth that are blue. There's none of that stuff. You know, my wife, Claire, she got excited because it still had a CD player in it, you know, and 6 cup holders. You know, that's 6 cups of coffee because she loves her coffee.
That's a lot of cup holders.
That's a lot of cup holders. I don't have any. But no, you just drink it quick.
I got one.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. Actually, 2 in the new one.
2 in the new one. So, and that has been, and I was very sceptical. It's been an incredible vehicle. We took it all up through the Murchison, the Pilbara, even took it on the first part of the Canning stock route.
Yeah, right.
All bulk standard.
Did you find the fuel range was pretty limited, having a 60-litre tank though? Or was this the older one that had a bigger tank?
This was a 2021 model.
Okay, they might have a bigger tank because
Might
the
have been
new
a big
one
tank, yeah.
is a 60-litre.
Yeah, right.
And a bloke I know who tows a caravan with it,
Yep.
he is constantly filling up.
Really?
Yeah, because there's 60 litres. He's towing a caravan.
Yeah,
This
right.
Doesn't get very
60?
far.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just dropped $1,800 on extended fuel tank, you
Yeah,
know.
right.
Wow. No, we didn't really have a problem. We travel pretty light. We had you like this. I actually got a Heyman Reese set up so I could fit a pintle hook, which is like a claw military trailer, like attachment. So then I could hook my donut on my number 5 trailer up to the NUX. And then I made an adapter from I think it's 12-pin NATO plug to a 7-pin trailer plug.
Ooh.
So I could hook it up.
You worked out the colours.
Yeah, or lack of, as I found.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was all white. They must have been colourblind that day.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I cut mine out straight away and just
Did
put
you?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we had that, and we were getting about 10 litres per 100 Ks, which was okay.
It's a good light trailer though.
Yeah, it is. And we had 60 litres of fuel in the back, 60 or 80 litres of water, and then spare wheel for the number 5 trailer, wheel bearings, and then I bought a Southern Cross tent, the Australian-made
Yeah.
pyramid tents. We just had that. So, yeah.
Is that what's your general camp setup when you?
So that's the family camp.
That's the family camp. Yep.
General camp setup's pretty simple. Swag.
Yep.
Done.
What are you cooking on?
Fire.
Fire.
Or
What about
if
when you
not,
can't have a fire?
oh, yep. I have thought of that, Ronnie. Thank you.
Leather.
It's leather.
Football. No. Don't say that. I use a Coleman dual fuel stove.
Oh,
Yeah. You
Yes.
know, the old school ones. that you
Memories are
pump
coming.
up? Yep. The horrors.
There you go.
And that runs on Shillite or Petrol because most of my Land Rovers, the old ones, run on Petrol. So I can just decamp from the jerry can into that, and I've got a dual burner stove.
Wow.
And then I've got a Coleman North Star lantern that runs on petrol too. So I run
Really?
everything on petrol because, and people will find this quite amazing, I think, when you go to remote communities, you can't get LPG gas, you can't get it decanted, there's no swap and goes or anything like that. And I've been caught out bush so many times when you're on a corrugated road, and I don't know how it does it, but the tap undoes. And when the tap actually, lets the gas out, you don't know because it's on the
Yeah.
back of the ute or it's in the
Yep.
trailer or whatever, and you get to camp. And if you're going to be out there for 3 weeks, like sometimes I am, you got to light a fire every night. You got to wait, half an hour to get the fire warm enough so you can have a cup of coffee in the morning or a cup of tea. First world problems, So, yeah, Coleman dual fuel stove.
Wow.
Get one.
There
Yep.
you go.
Yep.
And have you got a favourite destination for more of a for just your camp like pleasure when you're heading away? Have you got a favourite destination?
I see you as a desert man.
Well, I've spent a lot of time in the desert, but I am actually off to Tasmania tomorrow because that's where I'm from.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is that why you're in Perth?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
The penny has dropped.
Yeah.
No, I thought I'd come down a day earlier and catch up with you guys and then shoot off to Tassie as you do and go do some filming over there on some four-wheel drive tracks and that kind of stuff, Ronnie.
Nice.
So I really like in Tassie, it's the west coast.
Yep.
Just because of the rugged, beautiful
I've
coastline
heard,
there.
yeah.
And then the Central Highlands, which is just basically a flat plateau. And there's just lakes everywhere. And you can camp by a lake. You can go trout fishing. If you're into shooting, you can go get a deer. It's just a wonderful part of the world.
So you've gone from there
Yeah.
to basically the desert, the complete opposite.
Correct.
Is
Yeah, it is the
Is there a
opposite,
love
eh?
for the desert too?
There is.
Yeah.
There is. And coming from Tasmania, where you camp by a river every night or a majestic mountain,
Yeah.
and then you come to the desert and people are getting excited camping next to a stagnant dam, it's a little bit, hard to adjust.
Underwhelming.
Underwhelming. But as you would know, Ronnie, having spent a lot of time in the desert, you start looking into the desert, and when you sort of attune your eye, you can find just as many spectacular sights out there.
Yeah, we call it research, but the people that we've interviewed again across the shows, the desert stood out as the one thing that, the one place when I asked that question, it stood out, didn't it?
Yeah, it's the hardest place to get to,
It's
I
probably
guess.
that as well.
It's more difficult than other places. It's further away.
Yeah.
You spend more time out there, which means that you slow down.
Yeah.
And you get to really,
Yep.
because for so many years I've noticed these holes in the ground. They're kind of like this funny shape.
Yep.
It's like a melted horseshoe.
Yep.
Best way I can explain it. And lo and behold, one night I was looking at one, and out comes a scorpion, and I was like, "Holy shit!" There's
Don't learn
scorpion
that
holes.
every day.
So I can spot them now anywhere. Like, there's so many of them.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Go and get a rooftop tent.
I don't mind scorpions.
Ronnie's
Don't
got,
you?
Ronnie's
Yeah.
got
there
a
you go.
caravan now, actually, Geoff.
He's got
He's
a caravan.
Borrowed
He's a
one.
caravan guy now.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Not just a caravan guy, but an automatic man.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, right.
What a loser.
Wow.
Imagine only driving an automatic,
Oh,
Duggo.
imagine only having an auto.
Imagine that.
Jeez.
No pulling your
my
punches here.
goodness.
Yeah.
Last one, and then we're going to jump to some questions from our listeners with around the fire pit. What's next for Seriously Serious, mate? What have you got in the pipeline that you can let us in on?
Well, we've got a lot planned. We've got a lot coming out this year. We've got 2 adventure series coming out across the Nullarbor, where we met you guys at the Adelaide show,
Yep.
where we did the entire Nullarbor on backtracks. We've got Trek to the Coast, where we crossed Australia's largest desert north to south. We then have our feature film coming out that we're hoping to show here in Perth, called Dust and Dreams. And then I'm going off to Tasmania, as I've already said. We're filming 4 episodes over there in our Edge of the Earth series. We've got another one trying to find out whether Harold Bell Lassiter escaped the Peterman Ranges in terms of Lassiter's Reef.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing that in early August. We've got maybe one in the Great Dividing Range. And then next year we're going to New Zealand, and then we're going back to conquer the Canning.
Nice. Jeez,
So-
you're busy.
Yeah, no time to be bored here.
Yeah.
That's not what life's about. You're meant to live it.
That is unreal.
Thanks for sending that book to me, by the way.
Yeah, you got it?
Yeah.
Did you have a quick flick?
I had a quick flick through it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, there was no sticky pages.
No. It was a fresh copy. But Phil Bianchi's a really nice fella, so if you ever want to get in touch, let us know.
Yeah. No, I'm just hope I put that book to use sometime soon.
You will.
What-
It's going to happen.
The Canning Stock Route sort of guidebook.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, come along with us. You'd be welcome.
Yeah.
You'd all be
When is
welcome.
that?
Next year. Mid next year.
Oh,
Get your diary out.
So plenty of time to plan, plenty of time
Yeah.
to get everything in.
So I was, the time of year I was going to try and do it, but the whole place went underwater again.
Does that?
It does that every year to me.
This year was particularly bad though.
Yes, it was.
It was. Yeah. So it's
Given
kind of
how
good.
dry it is as well,
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's been really dry like the past probably 5 years, but this summer, Anyway, we're going off topic.
Yeah.
here.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. So this year, a number of cyclones hit the goldfields basically.
Right.
And we've had I believe a big wet season in the northern parts of Western Australia, and as Ronnie referred to, it's basically just flooded out the Canning. I was out working east of Kalgoorlie, and I couldn't get out there for about probably 3 days,
Right.
because the Goldfields Highway was actually underwater. I think the Great Northern Highway, is that the one that goes up to...
Yeah, that was underwater
Yeah,
as
that
well.
was underwater too. So there was lots of stuff underwater.
Right.
And I then went out on a trip probably about 5 weeks ago, and I was trying to find tracks that I'd been on heaps of times. I couldn't find them.
Oh, they're washed out.
But the growth, Ronnie.
Oh,
Because
right.
we've had all this rain, and then we've had all this hot weather.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
goes the grass, up goes the vegetation. axe comes off the bonnet, and you start, getting your reps in. Yeah.
You'd be able to build something, wouldn't you? Just like a...
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
I
yeah.
can imagine something off the
Yeah,
front of the
I'll have to
Defender
work on that for the next podcast.
He's just
looking forward to
collecting for his
seeing
cup of tea.
Yeah. Hey, let's start the fire up, Jaden. We're going to go to around the fire pit, Geoff, where hopefully there's been a few questions thrown in that you can help us out with, but questions from our viewers and our listeners. And
I'll do my best.
You're more than welcome to ask these ones, Doug.
oh, you want me to ask him?
No, you can do
All
it,
right,
mate.
no worries. We've been missing you, mate. I can't look at you over
Yeah,
there.
sorry, mate. I've just put myself behind you so you stop staring at me.
Make sure you're awake.
Stop gazing.
All right, have you got the fire pit on, or you don't have that here?
I don't.
Oh,
It's on.
It's on for the viewers, but I can't hear it.
You can't hear it.
Is an
Sorry,
imaginary...
Oh, we didn't
Fire
actually.
pit.
We didn't touch on this. We don't usually sit here, Geoff. We're
I have gathered that.
Yeah.
I have gathered that.
Yeah, it
it's in
looks-
the other little pokey
we're down
room.
the hall, but
I feel very honoured that we're in the guest suite.
we,
Here,
yeah,
aren't
we got the
and you've got the plush
penthouse.
couches.
Yeah. Yeah, it's upmarket up this end of the hallway.
If you come on the podcast, look, it's worth it. They even give you a free bottle of water too.
Yeah.
They take care of
A
you.
couple of shelters.
Yeah,
You
sorry,
just can't
free.
reach.
while you're like,
Yeah. What do you think of the shelters?
Look, I'm pretty easy when it comes to beer, as long as it's wet and it's
Yeah.
that, and it's
Well,
good.
You'll be happy with shelters then.
I would.
All right, let's get into it. So this one from Jake01. How soon will the stage 1 be on the road? That makes no sense to me.
Oh, okay. That's probably me. That's cool. So, bit of context for those who don't know what a stage 1 is.
Glad it makes sense to you because I'm lost.
So, the Land Rover Series 3 Stage 1 was built between 1979 and 1983-84. And it was basically the first stage to develop the 110, which would later become the Defender.
Right.
And the British government put a lot of money into actually trying to make this first stage of development. And so it's got a Range Rover gearbox in it, LT95, and then it was fitted with a detuned 3.5 litre Rover V8, which was originally a Buick V8 from the 1950s.
Right.
And then it's in a Series 3 body, so it's leaf sprung all round, basically.
So it's a car made in 1979 or
Yep.
80s,
Yep.
early 80s, and they're using an engine from the 50s.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the LT95 stands for Leyland Truck. So it's actually a truck gearbox that was then modified, and they actually made it all one casting, even the transfer case, and they put a centre differential in it. And a centre differential, for those that don't know, basically splits the power from the front and the rear of the vehicle by 50%, so therefore makes it more effective overall. So when am I going to get that on the road? Is that the question?
I'd say that's the crux of it.
That's the crux of it. Right. Duggo is here to keep us in line. I don't know at this stage. Thank you very much for writing in or calling in or whatever they do these days.
Jake?
Telegram.
A telegram. That's it. Morse code. Look, we've got heaps of videos coming our way. I'm going to be overhauling the motor and the gearbox and all the rest. But I've just been busy actually setting up a new workshop. So it's on the back burner for the moment, but more's going to be coming your way.
Yeah, I like it. We've got this one from _Land Rovers. What's the best upgrade for taking a series into the bush?
A good toolkit. Done.
Best
Easy as
upgrade.
you like.
Yeah, that's an upgrade because they don't usually come with a toolkit.
That's the most simple answer and
But
most
look-
effective answer we've ever gotten.
But I guess to go off that, yeah, a good toolkit and obviously a good workshop manual. Make sure you get the Land Rover workshop manual that comes in 2 volumes, that thick. And then if your handbrake fails, you can use it as a wheel chock too.
There you go. I love it. I can't wait for the next part of this. We got Macca 9222. I just bought an N60 Hilux as my daily and I'm keen to try four-wheel driving. Is there any difference to four-wheel driving in a petrol car compared to a diesel? Also, what should I worry about with an older vehicle? Probably for both of you.
Ooh, what should you worry about? I guess wear and tear. What's the clutch like? Petrol, what's the difference? The way you're going to use more fuel. The more load you put it in, you're going to use more fuel in sand, particular. But if you modify the vehicle and you put bigger tyres on it, it's likely going to roll too fast because the diff ratios are generally higher. So it allows the vehicle to run more because they're revving a lot higher.
That's right. And then you'll find your speedos a little bit out too.
Yeah.
I guess one of the things with your petrol and diesel, you'll find with your petrol, you're going to have probably your torque coming in probably around about 2,500 RPM, whereas your diesel, as you know, Ronnie, you basically let the clutch off and it's initially there.
It's quite low, yeah.
It's a slug box, basically.
Yep.
With your petrol, the key thing I would probably say to him is get a tin of lanolin and basically go round, if he's got a petrol, and obviously spray all the electronic connections and components, because once you get a little bit of water in there, that'll short out and then your car's not going anywhere. And that's probably about $8 from your local automotive store. So pretty cheap, and it can get you out bush and get you out of trouble.
Even if you're not particularly in water, you're on the coast a lot, it's probably still a good idea.
Yeah, true.
There's a lot more of that.
Yeah,
corrosion on the electronics and that.
100%. Even the underside of your car, it's good to use lanolin on that too.
Yeah.
Good intel. Hopefully you got that something from that, Macca. Next one from Ains500, I think name's Mark. Hi guys, I have a question from a previous podcast. How do you know or recognise if a road is gazette, or should that be gazetted?
Oh, gazetted.
Yeah, gazetted. And it says, great show, keep up the good work. Thank you, Mark.
Well, the best way to find out if a road is gazetted, if it's in a road map, then it's more than likely gazetted. If it has a name, it's actually got a sign, then it's gazetted.
For those that don't know, gazetted?
It's a road that's recognised as a road. It's an official road.
That's right.
Official path of transport, which means, and the reason why this question is there in the first place, I guess, is insurance, right? So is the road gazetted? So if you break down on a gazetted road, can a tow truck come and get you? That's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Yep.
But even on a gazetted road, a lot of tow trucks won't come and get you.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's, Canning Stock Route's a gazetted road.
It is. Even Big Red is technically a gazetted road.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go. So you can get off-road, trucks, towing companies and that. I know a nice fella, Andy from Outback Recovery, he actually goes up the Canning Stock Route in a Mercedes truck.
Oh, yeah. So that's in a Unimog, yeah?
Probably.
Yeah,
I forget. There was a lot of other stuff in his yard that I got distracted with, Land Rovers and that. But yeah, look, I agree with you there, Ronnie. I think one of the great things to do if you're planning a trip and anything like that is looking up the particular region online, looking up the shires, and they'll actually have information about the roads, the major roads that you're going to be going on. Are they open? Are they closed?
Yeah.
All the rest. And usually most maps these days are pretty detailed, as you've alluded to also.
Yeah, even Google Maps seems to be up to date more. Like when I was coming through New South Wales into Victoria and the floods were happening behind us, they were literally chasing us by hours.
Yeah.
Roads were literally closing on this app.
Yes.
But in saying that, for example, if you're down at Esperance and there's roads closed, the council don't check it Saturday, Sunday.
No.
So
No.
They might change the sign on Friday and say it's open.
That's right. And that's where it pays to make a phone call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
What maps do you use, mate?
I use, well, we make our own.
Right.
Make our own maps. Then we use HEMA maps. Then we use...
Is that make your own with work? Sorry.
With both.
With both? Cool.
With both.
Yeah, right.
With both.
Yeah.
Damon's very good at doing it.
Right.
So we use GIS software, which is geoimagery software. And so we use QGIS. And so basically... that's probably a whole different podcast right there.
Yeah.
But basically we can get old maps and we can digitise them. We can do them in different grid references, so we don't have to worry about longs and lats. So we can actually do it in, metres, kilometres.
So you have to input it all yourself, right? No?
No. We can basically download it onto any GPS unit that we want.
Oh, and it works it out?
No. It's you can basically... So if you're doing... Okay, let's say...
You're talking about digitised map?
Yeah, so digitise.
Right,
map.
okay.
Yeah. No, that's all right. So yeah, you can digitise the map. and then you can put it onto. I think you use a Garmin, don't you, Ronnie?
Yeah, using a Garmin now. It's I must have a new one out, because it's getting a bit on.
Yeah,
but it's the best thing I've ever used so far.
So you can get the map data, like the points, your tracks and all that. You can put that on there, which you'd be aware of.
Yeah.
But then the actual maps themselves will print off a paper map, because you can be out bush, and this probably ties into another subject, but if your GPS unit blows up, or
which does happen,
or as a guy I worked with, he had it on a lapel on his belt, slammed the Hilux door. What was in the Hilux door? The GPS. So he didn't know where he was going after that. Poor fella.
Put it in an unbreakable door.
Exactly. So we use that. So basically, government survey, make our own maps, HEMA maps. Yeah.
It's interesting you should bring that up, because when we did the Ashburton region, we went to the map shop, and geez, the detail you can get is pretty incredible.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And it's in fact so detailed that you can actually visibly see the landmarks.
Yeah.
Because on a lot of other maps you just can't see it.
No. Was that Charts and Maps in Fremantle?
Yeah.
Great shop, eh?
Yeah, awesome. And you can get whatever size you want, whatever detail you want.
Yep. Whatever scale you need. And then you get your scale ruler if we're going all in. And then you can calculate your different scale and all that, which I do.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, that might be it for our questions, Jaden. Am I correct in saying?
Actually, sorry. So there was one
This
particular...
one in from Ronnie Dahl.
So just...
Looks like he's about to whisper it to me.
There's one particular area that was sort of checking out. It was like it was a property we had access to. I don't want to mention a name, because the owner obviously doesn't want people going there. But it was very limited on detail and map for that area. So what I did is, going back maybe 8 years or something like that, I used to have this massive Canon printer for digital photos, because I used to shoot weddings and things like that. So I was downloading Google images and stacking them in Photoshop. And the thing is, Google are smart. They do it so they don't line up. So you can line up the best you can. But that was an incredible map. I've still got them at home. I'll bring them in next time. It's like that big. You could literally roll it out, and it's like full coloured. You can see everything. It's pretty awesome.
Have a fiddle round when you've got 5 minutes, which I know you don't get that very often, Ronnie. But even in Google Earth now, you can just generate your own maps. It's really easy to do.
Right.
So if you're going to a particular area and you're looking on your map and you're like, there's just not enough what we call resolution, not enough detail. You can go on Google Maps, you can make it to scale, Google Earth, you can make it to scale, you can put a ledger in there, you can put your north arrow and everything. So, and that's pretty simple to do,
Yeah, cool. You haven't really looked at that much since, getting GPSs and things.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm enjoying listening. We are going to wrap it up though, but Geoff, you're going to stick around if you don't mind?
Love to.
We're going to make this a bit of a two-parter, because there is a lot. This is already gone for you'd be shocked. How long do you think this is sort of sitting around?
A lot longer than half hour, let's put it that way.
It's above an hour already, Ronnie.
Oh, really?
Goes quick, doesn't it, when you're having fun?
Yeah.
Mate, is there anything you want to say before we wrap up on this first one? Anything you need to shout out? Seriously Series, where can we find you? Where can we get can we get a top? Or how do we get involved?
Look, if you want some seriously good content, type in Seriously Series into Dr. Google. That will take you most of the way.
We need to go.
Check out our film Road to Ruin, as we've talked about. Type that into Google, Road to Ruin, Geoff Lewis, and it will come up with that. I write a bush mechanic column in Western Four-Wheel Drive magazine. We do regular articles in Classic Land Rover magazine, and the occasional one in SA 4x4 over in South Africa too.
Right.
So you can also catch us on the C31 network, and I think we've got an adventure coming out on Channel 7 on the show you're on, Ronnie, which is awesome. Yeah. So lots of places that you can find out about us. Check us out on YouTube, and you'll lose a Sunday there or two quite happily.
I would love to. Righto. Let's wrap it up, mate. We're done. We're staying around, though, but I'm just going to do the little outro. That's the Southern River Band with Let It Ride. Socials, 4-Wheel Drive Podcast on Instagram. BackChat to YouTube. Patrons, thanks again. We love yous. And if you want some merch, behind me there. Got it wrong. Head to BackChat Studios, backchatstudios.com.au/shop. We've got another part coming up.
All
Let's
right.
get into it.
And seriously, goodbye. In all seriousness.